This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Oh, what's up, man?
Dude, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm finally inside in the AC. Today had to be the hottest day of all the days. I know every day is hot, but today felt like the hottest
I really
day.
wanted to be out there, dude, but man, I had six delays from freaking Canton, bro. I was like, at 2:38, I'm sitting there waiting for my luggage to come on the carousel. It's just by the time I got into bed, it was like 4 a.m, and I was like, yeah. I'm not doing practice, and then I got to do a couple hours of talk. Now I'm not doing that, and I fly out to Montreal. And I fly out to Montreal tomorrow morning. So it's like
you got to take care of your body, man. That's too much.
It's too much.
But I'm telling you, man, we live in South Florida, so we're used to it. But today was hot, and you realize Miami Heat is different because all the Atlanta folks are in town. And I talked to a couple of Atlanta Falcons players that I know afterwards, and the first thing they all said to me was like, "Dude, it's like this every day." And I'm like, "Yeah, Miami Heat is definitely different."
And it's hot in Atlanta.
It's hot in Atlanta, and
it's hot in Atlanta.
Okay, they have humidity too.
Yes,
but it's just not the same level. It's the level of humidity that is just different. And I told Atlanta folks, I'm like, the biggest thing I think that's different about Miami is that like 8 a.m. it is going to be hot and humid. Other places you may have a cool morning. It may be 60 degrees in the morning, and then it'll warm up to 90 or 100. Miami's already starting at 80. You know, you're already there. There's no break. And even at night, we can go out at 11 o'clock at night. It's still going to be 80, you know, and it's so thick. It's so humid. The temperature may say 90, but it feels like maybe 105, right?
Well, you got to remember, we're surrounded by ocean. We're a peninsula.
Yep.
We have swamps, okay?
Yep.
We have swamps. Not everybody has swamps. We have oceans, swamps. We're on coral. So we don't have a ton of dirt. So, you know, like when you go to Cleveland, where I was, it rains, the land absorbs it all and it goes away.
Right.
For us, it stays there. Our ground stays saturated. Our rivers, our lakes, our swamps, our oceans, brother. And then you've got all this heat on top of you. It all just bubbles up, and that's why we're worse than pretty much everybody else because of all these situations, you know? So
it's a lot. It's a lot. But here's what I will tell you. Yeah. Even through the summer, which is obviously our worst season to live here, I still would pick Miami over pretty much everywhere else in the U.S. and living. There's maybe 2 or 3 cities, 2 or 3 areas, maybe that's more as far as weather. Otherwise, the winters – to me, make up for the summers.
Before it went to shit, San Francisco was my spot.
Yeah, San Fran is like Cali's got an ideal temperature because it's warm, but it still has the cold mornings and evenings, and you still get a little bit of winter. And so Cali, pretty much any area in Cali probably has it beat. But I've always been I would rather have the humidity than the dry heat. I know some people are the opposite. Some people love the dry heat. They can't deal with the sweat. For me, I want to know I'm hot. I don't want to just be like dying of thirst and not know because I'm not sweating. And it's so hot out here because I don't have any liquid left in my body. And I don't like to feel like I'm putting lotion on 24/7, which is what happens when I'm in like Arizona or Vegas or something.
Yeah, I love Northern California. I lived there for a short time. I lived there a long time ago, 26 years ago, when it was actually a decent place to live. Now it's just absolutely terrible to live in that place, unfortunately. But they do have the weather, and man, that part of the country is beautiful, dude. Yeah, it really is, brother. All right, Cam, do you laugh also at people that overreact with depth charts in early August?
I didn't even post the depth chart. I looked at it briefly.
But you're a veteran. But
I very much
people that overreact on this shit, dude. It's like
I liked Mike McDaniel's quote that depth charts are my nemesis. That's what he said today. Which preseason depth charts is what he said. Preseason depth charts or training camp depth chart, whatever he described it as, are my nemesis. A lot of times first of all, they always.
By the way, Cam, explain to people, if Mike McDaniel had a choice, would he even put a depth chart out?
No. You put out the depth charts because you're required. It's required by the league at this time period. Everybody put it out at the same time, which is the last day they could possibly put it out without the NFL saying something. And to be honest, and I'm not sure if this is the case for the Dolphins, most times the PR department puts out the depth chart. It's the PR department putting out what their vibes are. Sometimes they'll check in with the coaches. A lot of times they'll put the rookies lower than the rookies are supposed to go because they're rookies. You don't want to get them too big-headed. And so, like, for example, I didn't see the Falcons depth chart, but if Bijan Robinson is anything other than a starting running back, it's a bold-faced lie. Because I've seen every practice they've been out there. He is a starter, right? And so a lot of times teams will say, hey, a clear starter is your number 3. Or they'll have a quote-unquote quarterback battle that they're saying or because they don't want to decide that it's over yet. You know, a lot of that stuff happens. I don't take too much stock in it. I think more than anything, it lets you know where they see groupings of players. Like I thought it was interesting that Christian Wilkins was noted as a defensive end and not a defensive tackle. To me, something like that is like maybe somewhat notable. I think most people knew that you're going a little bit more to a traditional 3-4 scheme, but they view him strictly more as a 3-4 defensive end rather than a defensive tackle. Something like that is notable to me. Where, you know, they are as far as spot and depth chart, that doesn't move the needle for me at all.
Yeah, no, and to me, I kind of laugh at it, and then I actually kind of lose respect for a media member that thinks it's actually something serious.
So I've actually seen times where there's been a depth chart release before a third preseason game, and the guy who was quote unquote the number 1 starter got cut, and a guy who was on the 4th team made the roster. Right. And so, you know, obviously money, different things have a factor, but if your first team is missing the team and your 4th team is making the team, clearly those depth charts are not in line with what you view as the structure of your team.
All right, let's go over a couple things. Has Elijah Campbell gotten the closest to anybody else to becoming the second safety as a starter? Because Brandon Jones still hasn't cleared that red jersey, and Elijah Campbell is only gotten better and making more plays in this training camp than he ever has.
Yeah, so Elijah's played very well. And I think one of the quietly disturbing elements of camp is that there hasn't been an established guy to separate themselves as a second safety. And there's still some questions in my mind about the depth of that spot opposite Javon Holland. I think there was a lot of hope that Brandon Jones would come back fully healthy and kill it. And there's still time. The season hasn't started, but we have not seen that old Brandon Jones yet. He's just starting to get back on the field in full drills. And today he even admitted he does not feel the same speed and explosiveness as he normally feels. And he got to play earlier today, and he's coming off a serious injury. And so that's to be expected, but we're 1 month away from the season. And so if he doesn't get that back, you know, you don't have your incumbent as your starter. Are you comfortable with Deshaun Elliott? Deshaun Elliott's had an okay camp. I wouldn't say that he's been anything.
Campbell's a guy.
Stretch. Campbell's and so I think they would want to feel comfortable with another guy or one of those guys that play a little better. And so that's why you see a guy like Elijah Campbell, because he's fully healthy and he's playing decent. Like I don't think you want Elijah.
By the way, he had his moments last year too.
Yes, he did. He did. And I think the full switch to safety helps him. There are some guys that need to be in a certain room. I know they were playing Elijah Campbell in sort of a hybrid role where he might play a little bit of corner, he may play a little safety. Sometimes you just need to put a guy in a room and tell him, you're a safety, go gain this amount of pounds and focus strictly in safety rooms. And I think you're seeing a guy who is probably went from, I don't know if he's going to make the team, to he could have a role and playing time on this defense. And so I think that's how significant his camp has been so far. And you got guys like Brandon Jones who you need to see more of, and Trill Williams as well, who I think a lot of fans love Trill. But the reality is we have not seen Trill coming back from injury. And I thought we would see more of him at this stage. We haven't. And so if he is not ready to play in some preseason game, play in the practice, I don't know how you can trust him to be a key backup on your team. So I think there's some depth question marks, definitely a safety, but Elijah Campbell has been one of the pluses.
What did you see on the offensive line? Because I kind of feel that maybe even after this game this week, I think there's going to be some shakeup or some, because I just don't feel that Liam and Jackson have done enough. I think there's too much inconsistency for me. I think you got to go Lamb right tackle and move Wynn over to left guard. But your thoughts on what you've seen from Eichenberg and Jackson and what you're seeing from some of the other guys?
Yeah, so I tweeted a little bit about this, but I don't pick winners or losers for joint practices. But one thing that stood out to me today, I was watching mostly the Dolphins offense versus the Falcons defense. The Falcons were more physical, particularly in the trenches. They won a lot of those battles, and I think I told you before the last time we chatted, the biggest thing I wanted to see was how the Dolphins offensive line responded to the Falcons defensive front, because Grady Jarrett's a really good player.
Yep.
But this front as a whole is not considered an elite by any stretch of the imagination. They have David Garrett, Grady Jarrett. They signed David Onyemata from the Saints, who's a good player. But this is probably, I think they've elevated from one of the worst fronts to maybe an average front. The Dolphins lost today, and we got another day tomorrow. But in the defensive line of the Falcons beat up on the Dolphins offensive line today, and it's concerning. It's concerning. Obviously, no Teron Armstead today. He just did the individual drills. He didn't do a lot in team drills. Mike McDaniel indicated we'll see Teron tomorrow in team drills, and so I'm eager to see how his impact will help the O-line in general. But there's still questions at 74. Liam Eichenberg is a question. I'm not sure if I feel he's going to be a starter, and I definitely don't feel comfortable if he is the starter. Austin Jackson, same thing. Austin Jackson has had an up and down camp. There's been some spurts where he's looked really good. And then
the problem is when he looks bad, brother.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Right. And he protects to his blind side. That's the reality of it.
And it looks so much like what's the name of the dude that got Tua's ribs killed? Jesse Davis.
Got you.
When he whiffs Jesse Davis like. And that, like last week, I saw him whiff on back-to-back plays by Phillips and Agba. And I know it's Phillips and Agba, but dude, that's what you're going to face throughout the year. And they ran by him like he was a cigar store mannequin. And you're like, bro, you can't have those kind of plays, and it's just and that's his problem, because there are moments where he'll pancake a guy. And you're like, whoa, nice job, Austin. And then there are these moments that you're like, oh, dude, you're going to get somebody killed for doing that. And I think that's been Austin's problem.
Absolutely. I think he's definitely looked physically stronger, but very much there's still questions I would have if you're playing an elite pass rusher. I do not feel comfortable with Austin Jackson out there. You're going to have to send help his way probably all game, and that influences how you change your scheme. The problem is everybody needs a right tackle. So I'm not sure there's a fixed option. Yes, you could put a Kendall Lamb in there. Yeah, you could see if Isaiah Wynn can play there, but I'm not sure if any of those answers are all of a sudden turning around the offensive line. And so I think
Wynn had a couple moments today, right? I thought he played.
Wynn did, but he can't fill all the roles right now. He's getting a lot of reps.
But I put him at left guard right now, and
that's what I'm saying. So right now you're getting a lot of you're having a competition at left guard, and so if Wynn wins the competition at left guard, well, then Austin's probably going to have to be your right tackle. I haven't seen enough that they're actually considering starting Kendall Lamb over Austin Jackson.
No, I know, because they're practicing. You're right, because they're practicing him more on the left side. Now he has played right tackle.
Yes.
And to me, what I've seen from left tackle from him, he's done a pretty good job overall. So I kind of
like Kendall Lamb a lot better at left tackle than Cedric Aboye. I think is how you pronounce his name. Yeah, I don't want to see Cedric. So no offense to Cedric, but I don't want to see a lot of Cedric at left tackle this year. No, I don't.
No, I'm with you. I don't want to see.
Yeah, so I would rather see Kendall Lamb there. And the reality is, Teron, who when healthy is by far the best offensive lineman on the team, has not consistently stayed healthy. So you need it's a very valuable spot to have a third tackle who can play left tackle as well as right tackle. And I think Kendall Lamb is showing that he can be that guy the same way Brandon Shell was that guy for right tackle. Maybe Kendall Lamb can be that guy for both spots, which would be a very important role that I wasn't sure the Dolphins had a month ago. The right tackle spot, the starting right tackle spot is another issue. And so every team, there's very few teams that feel great about their offensive line. Maybe the Philadelphia Eagles, maybe the Kansas City Chiefs. That's probably it. Every other team's fan base is going to have some type of questions.
Well, yeah. The entire division, the entire AFC East has problems on the offensive line.
So that's not a foreign issue.
They're all hurting in at least 2 spots. Every one of those teams, actually.
Absolutely. So it's not a foreign issue for the Dolphins. Now your hope is that better running, and the offensive line plays a bigger role in that, helps you, and that you're able to get the ball out quick out of your hands, which they've been doing. You hope that offsets some of the issues, but there certainly are issues. And to me, offensive line is my biggest offensive concern at this stage.
How concerned should we be that Jalen Waddle continues to drop passes?
Definitely. I would say a mild to moderate level concern. Like Jalen Waddle is still one of the best receivers in football.
We know all of that. We know all of it.
The issue last year was the drops. And he's had some drops in camp. I counted at least 2 today. And so he's had some drops. And it is concerning if the issue is not fixed. Now, I will say it's just training camp, so I'm not going to overreact and say, hey, the drops are still here. We're going to see what he does in the regular season. But you got to catch the ball. I mean, there's going to be plays down the field that Jalen Waddle can win or lose the game based on where he catches the ball. And so you need him to be everything that he was last year and maybe a little bit more. And that comes with more consistency with your hands. He's talked about getting stronger this offseason, and he does look stronger. But I think the biggest thing that I want to see improvement-wise from Jalen is the concentration. I think he is a little bit naturally a little bit of a body catcher rather than a hands catcher, which is fine.
That's
it's not great. It's not great, but I'll tell you this. But I'll tell you this: not every great receiver is a hands catcher. As much as they tell you this, not every great receiver is a hands catcher. Heck, Tyreek sometimes it can be a body catcher. He's more consistent with his hands than Jalen, but at times he can be a body catcher, especially when you're running in stride. It's an easier way to catch the ball. So I don't know that you're going to all of a sudden change Jalen from what he naturally does to catch every pass with your hands. But I do think that concentration plays a factor. He's got to concentrate a little bit more. I don't know if it's a vision thing. I do know he wears different lenses to help him with the sun. And so that's something where Jalen's got to get better. I don't remember what the number was last year, but I definitely know it was more than 5 drops. And so,
dude, in one game he had 2 and he cost them a game last year.
Right.
He literally cost them a game all by himself with 2 mistakes that he made. And so that's why I say that I know he's elite. I know he's a top level wide receiver, but he has one brain fart in his game. And guess what? Elite receivers don't drop balls.
Yeah. That's the next level.
If you want to be elite receiver, you don't drop passes. Yeah. And so
they do drop passes. You do not drop passes to that level.
That's my point. That's of course everybody's a human being.
Everybody's going to drop a pass or 2, but having 2 or 3 drops a season is different than having 7, 8.
Won a game. Won a game. Yeah. Won a game, dude. Go back and look at it. It's practically won a game he has.
Right.
Seriously.
Right.
Go look at it.
And I do remember the fumble that he had trying to do a little too much. I can't remember who he's playing, but over the middle. And so, these are mistakes.
He has 8 and 7 the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It says.
Yeah. That's too many. He's got to drop that number under 5. To me, if you cut that number in half and you're more in the 3 to 4 drop range, that to me is a lot more reasonable.
And it better be 3 or 4 balls that don't matter. It can't be 3 or 4 balls that are in the end zone or a game winner or something like that. You can have 3 or 4, but they better be 3 or 4 that aren't really that big. But if they're like game changers, like I told you with those 2 in one game, you can't do that, bro.
Absolutely. But I will say is Jalen cares about this, man. I see him on a jug machine.
Oh no, dude. There's nothing wring with the guy. The guy is phenomenal. Everything is great with him.
Yeah.
He's just got one wart.
Right. And to be honest, he's got a lot of pros, but that wart is a big wart at receiver. It's a receiver. Your job is to catch. And so the speed and all those things are great, but he's got to catch more consistently. It's kind of like, you got I'm a baseball guy. You got a big home run hitter. and he hits a lot of home runs, but he might strike out a lot. You got to decrease those strikeouts. You know, we still love the home runs. You're giving us 40 home runs a year. You're one of our best players. You're one of our best hitters. I just need to, hey, let's just be a little higher with the average. Let's cut down. Let's give me like 10, 20 less strikeouts a season. Give me like 3 or 4 less drops a season, and then we elevate you from a all-star to an MVP caliber player. You know, that's kind of how I view it.
All right, let's wrap it up with this quickly. Mike White was falling behind Skyler when there was nobody at camp, just media members. So apparently Mike White doesn't like us. But all of a sudden, since the fans showed up, since last week, since the first group of fans came in, Mike White has severely outplayed Skyler Thompson.
Yeah.
Yay or nay?
I haven't been here every day, but the days I have been here, Mike's definitely played a lot better. And that makes sense because
he did today, right? And he did today.
So I wouldn't say he did it today. Today, I would say that I would probably say all the quarterbacks struggled to an extent. Tua was okay. He had some nice throws, but he also threw a bad pick six, where the linebacker just jumped his route. Mike White threw a pick as well, and he was okay. He had a few other passes, but I wouldn't say this was a good Mike White day. And Skyler, who actually got very little snaps, threw a pick. I think he only threw 3 passes in team drills, and he threw a pick in those routes too. So I wasn't impressed with any of the quarterbacks today, but I will say that
overall, it's not. But the question is overall.
But yes, that's what I'm saying. Mike White before today, Mike White definitely looked like a lot closer to what the Dolphins thought they were getting when they signed him, which makes sense. His knock on the scouting report on him is that he's a gamer. He shows up when games are happening.
That's why I brought it up.
When the crowd's here, when you got officials, when you got a little bit more of a game-like atmosphere, it makes sense that Mike White would start to look more.
I've been to most of the practices. I know missed today, but when with the crowds there, I gotta give it to Mike White, bro. And I'm not the Mike White guy. I'm not the guy that brags about Mike White. I really haven't been overall impressed with Mike White and his game and his stats, to be quite honest. And I thought Skyler really had a shot. But I got to give Mike, you got to call things the way they are. And right now, Mike White has pulled away from him, I think, a little bit here as the number 2 guy. It's just that's what I'm seeing, at least.
Yeah. I hear you.
All right, what do you got going on?
Which is good. The Dolphins want Mike White. They paid him $5 million. Exactly. The Dolphins want Mike White to earn his $5 million to be the backup. Skyler Thompson's a good 7th-round pick, but I think they would rather have the experience of Mike White if they needed him for a game or two with Tua going down. So
it wouldn't be a good look for them if Skyler ends up. I mean, it's still their draft pick, but you kind of brought Mike White in because you thought the experience would make him the number 2 guy. So we'll see. What do you got going on the NFL Network so folks can check you out, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. NFL Network tomorrow, we will actually be live from Dolphins training camp. So we aren't hosting like we did the first week, but they'll come out to us frequently. And so me and Charles Davis, who's a pros pro, will be there talking ball. And so we'll be there starting at 9. We'll be there probably starting at 8 a.m. We're on TV and GMFB, the last hour of GMFB, the 9 o'clock hour. And then our show runs from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And so we'll be on for 4 hours. And so we'll be doing that, talking a lot of Dolphins, Falcons joint practices. We'll have a few interviews. I know the Falcons have confirmed that we're going to have Desmond Ridder and Cordero Patterson. I still got to get the Dolphins list from us. We've been here a couple times, so it won't be any repeats. So it won't be Tua, but maybe we get a couple other guys that you guys want to hear from, and we'll interview them after practice. And that'll be it. So big Dolphins day on NFL Network tomorrow, and then I head on the road. I'm actually got a flight at 5:45 tomorrow, talking about travel. Finish up at 2 p.m. at practice, and then a 5:45 flight out of MIA to just fly to Charlotte because I'll be checking out Bryce Young and the Panthers joint practice with the Jets. So I'll see them on Thursday, the Panthers and the Jets. I'll report back how the Jets look and the Panthers, but I know you guys care more about the Jets. And then I'll be there through the preseason game Saturday. They play Bryce Young should play on Saturday, so we'll see some Bryce versus the Jets. So I'll do that, and then I'll be back here in town, and I'll probably be here a good bit over the next week or two after that.
Well, you're in good hands working with Charles Davis. He is as one of the classiest human beings you will ever meet.
Absolutely.
On the face of Mother Earth, my brother.
Absolutely. Great dude. And knows his stuff. Charles hasn't been here in practice, but I bet you he'll educate some people on some stuff about the Dolphins just popping up. That's just the type of dude he is. So
money. Great human being, bro. Love Charles Davis. And love Cameron Wolfe. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. Cam, as always, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you immensely.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, sir. We will try. KSDT CPAs, baby. Offices in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. We're opening up one also in North Carolina. And when it comes to KSDT, use that QR code right there, folks. If you need to do your taxes for business, or if you just need help with your business, you need to assess the value of your business, you need to maybe go over some of the things you want to plan from payroll, anything else that you need to do, they can help you, folks, from insurance, everything. They really can help you and your business grow in so many different ways. So please call our friends at KSDT CPAs, 305-670-3370, top 200 firm by Forbes, tax firm and accounting firm in the country, KSDT CPAs.